Mad Max Fury Road is a serious contender as the defining action movie of the 2010s. The rare case where a franchise reboot matches the tone of the original and stands alone as its own entity. The 1970s oil crisis commentary is just as relevant as ever, as power rests in the hands of tyrants who control the resources of a dystopian world: gasoline, bullets, and clean water. Fury Road drummed up $380 million at the worldwide box office, but with marketing costs factored in, the movie was still a financial failure. Even though Fury Road isn't considered a total success, it's a beloved movie worthy of cult status. If it hadn't been for the inclusion of George Miller, who directed all of the movies in the original Mad Max trilogy, Fury Road might not have been as critically well received. There was hype around The Force Awakens when it was released the same year, and Disney's Star Wars sequel trilogy faltered without a guiding visionary to plot the course. Fury Road certainly holds up better than The Force Awakens. At 79 years old, George Miller is simply a more experienced and creative director than J.J. Abrams. Miller is even more committed as a director than George Lucas, who didn't direct The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, which he wanted David Lynch to direct. Miller is more invested in having control over his art and legacy. He has oddly enough directed hit family movies like Babe and Happy Feet, even directing the sequels to those movies. Miller cited the technology in Jurassic Park as a pivotal moment which allowed for more realistic talking animals in Babe. His background with animation is palpable when viewing Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga, which is something of an adult cartoon. It retains the bright orange color grading of Fury Road and flashy editing provided by Miller's wife Margaret Sixel, who worked on both films. The visual style of Furiosa is inspired by graphic novels and paintings from the Renaissance. The supporting performances are just as exaggerated as Chris Hemsworth's comical fake nose, with juvenile character names like Scrotus and Rectus. Miller's reliance on CG effects is divisive amongst fans, as his recent body of work has lost the grittiness of the original Mad Max trilogy, known for its practical stunt work. Fury Road was shot in Africa, but Furiosa returns to Australia, where the original Mad Max was filmed. Many of the backgrounds are entirely CG, and the images have been meticulously altered in post-production. When an actor's eyeline was off, causing them to look slightly cross-eyed, digital trickery was used to shift the position of the character's eyeball. John Seale, the cinematographer who shot Fury Road, turned down the offer for Furiosa. He was approaching 80 years old and wanted to spend more time with his family, making 3,000 Years of Longing his final film. Seale's replacement, Simon Duggan, known for shooting high-contrast action such as the sequel to 300, rises to the challenge with impressive wides and snap zooms. Miller has discussed the importance of understanding where the human eye will be looking during action. The area of focus maintains consistency between shots so that spatial relations are clearly understood. Shooting Furiosa took over 8 months, and even with the assistance of modern technology, there were 172 crew members on the stunt team alone. Composer Tom Holkenborg, also known as Junkie XL, began his career collaborating with Hans Zimmer and has scored many of Zack Snyder's movies. His noisy, often bombastic synth-heavy style is effective in both Fury Road and Furiosa. He utilized deepfake AI technology on instruments instead of human voices to create unusual sounds. It's a subtle experimentation which isn't apparent when listening to the score during the film. There are many effects which are clearly digital, but they don't interrupt the flow of the action or the telling of the story. Prequel films tend to do better with the hardcore fanbase than with mainstream audiences. Furiosa is a companion piece to Fury Road, fleshing out the lore and telling the backstory of a character whose fate is already sealed. There isn't the same tension because the outcome of events has already been established. This doesn't make the action in Furiosa any less satisfying, living up to the Western on Wheels ethos which Miller attributes to a French film critic's response to his original work. The addition of an airborne faction provides for a video game-esque chase scene in which our protagonists face paragliders and flamethrowers. The biggest surprise is that the first hour of the movie is concerned with Furiosa's childhood. Anya Taylor-Joy is the lead for only half of the movie, and the actor playing young Furiosa is not mentioned in the trailer. It's not a character with many lines, but the role requires an emotional range which both actors provide. The CG used to blend the two actors together is convincing enough for the few scenes in which it is utilized. In Fury Road, Max is no longer the star. He shares the stage with Furiosa, who drives the plot along, a successful passing of the torch. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is the first movie in the franchise to leave Max out, with the exception of a single shot, the same wide shot from Fury Road. But a character named Praetorian Jack, played by Tom Burke, fills a similar role in his partnership with Furiosa. Fury Road achieved greatness with a premise so simple that it's essentially a journey from point A to point B, and then back to point A again, with only one slow moment in the middle of the movie, when a truck gets stuck in the mud. It's a purposeful chance for character development to take place before an adrenaline-fueled climax. Both Fury Road and Furiosa are told with minimal dialogue, though Furiosa is not the non-stop action thrill ride of Fury Road. Instead, it's an epic tale taking place over many years, broken up into chapters. The world building is rich, with set pieces centered around Gastown and the Bullet Farm, locations left previously unexplored. Fury Road was a journey from the dictatorship of the Citadel in search of the utopian Green Place and a return to overthrow the Citadel, the cycle of the hero's journey. Furiosa's path here is similar, but more nuanced. She is enslaved by one tyrant and traded to another, cutting off her hair to be reborn in the disguise of a boy. Furiosa is first abducted by Dementis, who functions as a mentor, an antagonist, and a comic relief character. He is an adversarial patriarchal figure, an ogre father, replacing Furiosa's sacrificial mother. By the end of the movie, his backstory provides a mirror for Furiosa, so he is a shadow character as well. Miller is interested in mythological archetypes in his storytelling, which can transcend language and culture. His previous film, 3,000 Years of Longing, is a story about the nature of storytelling itself. A djinn, played by Idris Elba, is released from imprisonment within a bottle and recalls his past to a modern intellectual played by Tilda Swinton. It's never clear how much of the story is true, or if the djinn is a figment of its lead character's imagination. Furiosa is likewise a parable told by a narrator, a fairy tale. It's a story suited for the realm of animation, but Miller has chosen to sculpt it in live action. Production designer Colin Gibson won an Academy Award for Fury Road, and Furiosa is no less impressive. It's a story told by its vehicles, costumes, and props, as much as its dialogue. In order to be seen as a Roman emperor, Dementis rides in a chariot pulled by motorcycles, inspired by a 1937 police race in Sydney. A defeated character is ritualistically dragged through the sand, as when Achilles defiles Hector's corpse at the end of the Iliad. The fate of Dementis at the end of the movie is reminiscent of the Greek titan Prometheus, who was punished for stealing fire from the gods. Mythology informs the visual language of the film, but as much of the focus is on its action, the archetypes aren't as fully realized as in Dune Part 2, which garnered $700 million earlier this year. Furiosa was determined to be a flop days after it premiered. A headline in Variety called it the worst Memorial Day weekend opening in 30 years, excluding 2020 when theaters were closed for the pandemic. It relied on big opening weekend results to sustain its $168 million budget, which it needed to double to break even. This is not a sign of the movie's quality, but rather an indicator that shortened streaming windows have changed audience behavior. If a movie isn't at the forefront of the cultural zeitgeist and doesn't have a viral marketing campaign, it's not likely that it will be a huge hit at theaters. Sadly, the box office failure of Furiosa hampers the chance for another movie set in this unique world. Fans might turn out for the return of Max himself in a sequel, but would it be enough of a cultural phenomenon to bring in the $500 million it needs to make in order to be considered a success?